HBO's Warrior, which is a martial arts series, is in its third season right now, and a lot of people are debating, yo, is this show the greatest show for Asian men that makes Asian men badass, or is it overrated? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid debate. There's a lot of discussion about it. It's in its third season. It was on Cinemax. They canceled all the original programming, moved it over to HBO Max, which is kind of prestigious, Andrew. Long story short, it's based on Bruce Lee's writings of immigrants who come to SF in the 1880s. There's a lot of Tong wars internally within the Chinese community, gang fighting, but also a lot of fights with the Irish, British white descendants. It's kind of like gangs in New York, but a lot more kung fu, sex, violence, and drugs.
Yeah, it's definitely not for kids. But anyways, we're going to go through the multitude of reactions. Let us know in the comments down below if you watch this show or if you don't and why you don't, because we're going to explain why we may or may not watch the show ourselves. So please hit that like button. Check out other episodes of the Hot Pot Boys.
Real quick, Andrew, defend it, because a lot of people you train martial arts with now, because you're becoming just like this character in Warrior yourself, they love this show, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of martial arts guys like it because it is a badass show.
It is.
There's definitely Asians dishing out the violence, defending themselves. Obviously, there is violence against Asians as well. So it's going both ways.
Isn't it not the most hardcore martial arts show in the Western world right now being produced?
A hardcore martial arts series that's ongoing right now in its third season, I would say so. And it is really well done. The setting is really made to look very, very realistic. But David, let's get into the comment section, because although people celebrate it, people also don't like the show. Let's go.
All right, the first comment was, man, this show is so underrated. Nobody talks about it, but everybody who watches it knows that they love it. Why do you think this show has such a cult following? Because if you guys know about the way that, the TV industry works, Andrew, it has been barely renewed every single season. You know what I mean? Like, it's on the brink of getting canceled, but enough people like it because it's got the cult following. Right. And I think that the team, let's be honest, the execution is there, but it's always on the brink of it. So it's one of those pieces where if you watch it, you love it, but a lot of people have never even heard about it.
So you're saying it's not a smash hit of a TV show, but it does have enough of a following, and maybe it just fits, like obviously based off Bruce Lee, and it's a good martial arts show, so like, you kind of need one of those. Maybe HBO Max is like, yo, we should have this show. It fits on the bill.
And like you said, there are a lot of martial arts shows on at any given moment, because that's what's shown to trend very well for Asian Americans or Asians in Western settings. However, this is the edgiest, almost like X-rated one.
Yeah, but I would say it does a good job of taking you to a different world, and it's not super cheesy. I think you can disagree with certain aspects of the show, but it doesn't feel like hacky, I guess.
No, it doesn't feel hacky, but I think you could criticize the writing in another way, almost like it's like trying to be too cool, but not cheesy in the way that a lot of martial arts films are. Long story short, Andrew, it was written off this script called Assam that Bruce Lee wrote. The original one got optioned into Kung Fu with David Carradine, and this is like the more badass version.
It was like the evolution of that script, that original script treatment.
Somebody said, man, the artistry is so strong. The portrayal of turn of the 19th century America, 1880s, 1890s. They're talking about race, cultural, class tensions, the beef between the Irish and the Chinese on the West Coast in San Francisco. It's so amazing. It's explaining the inner workings of the city. Some people said a little bit even like The Wire.
Hey.
And these are fans of the show, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'll tell you this, from what I can tell about the show, it does go pretty deep, David. To be honest, a lot of people had no idea about the Tong Wars. That's a real thing. Now, you can disagree on whether, that part of Asian American history should be glorified or not. Is it helpful?
Was that even accurate to it?
Was it accurate? Obviously, this is not a historically accurate show. This is a made-up show that takes place in an accurate, real time of history, but these characters are not real because it's a story. This is a story.
Somebody said, man, it's just like Peaky Blinders meets a Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movie, maybe sprinkled in some gangs of New York.
Yeah, I think some people really like this show, man.
All right, let's get into the criticism of it. Somebody said, such contemporary, snappy, cute profanity likely never existed at that point in American history. These historic hoods were probably brutally dumb. Their conversations were probably idiotic with each other, to be honest. The contrast level is just cranked up to the point where it comes off as corny. It almost feels like some satire.
Wait, is he trying to say because they're deep in Chinatown and that none of the actors have like Chinatown accents at the time, that this must be unrealistic? And this is so unrealistic that this makes the show bad? All right, first of all, this guy's like, what is he? Porcelano? What is he? Italian? This guy's Italian. So I'll tell you this. It is true that the actors do not have accents and they're not portraying like a perfect like character, I guess, because these people would definitely
it's
have
probably
accents.
not even close,
Dude,
to be honest.
Andrew Koji Assam, who comes off the boat from China, would absolutely actually not even speak English.
And he wouldn't be half Anglo, half Japanese, right?
Right, yeah, okay. But that's like, you know, you're acting, so I put that aside for a little bit. But yes, I guess if you want to knock it points for that.
Somebody said Asians in leading roles shouldn't have to maintain racist Hollywood stereotypes and portray trite, lame-ass cliches to be cast in major productions. I suppose this ancient Chinese secret fantasy with madams and brothels is the delight to every mundane mid-American white kid with the caucasity to revel in seeing exotic, not-so-good guys kick every single ass. It's not for me.
Oh.
Honestly, straight up, yo, I agree with this.
Oh.
I agree with this guy. I don't, agree with him to the extent that he said it, but I essentially 7 out of 10 agree with him. To be honest, I'm not feeling the show.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to get into explaining why later. Somebody said the fights are pretty cool, but the whole vibe of the show was just off. I stopped at the first episode. The whole thing was just cheesy, and the dialogue mixing modern with ancient was kind of stupid to me.
That's interesting. I think that's maybe why some people like it too. So yes, I think this show is, David, dare I use the P word, polarizing.
Dare I use the P word to describe this show, Warrior Andrew? PF Chang's. Because this show reminds me exactly of the Terracotta Warriors in the PF Chang's in Union Square. You know how they play the Tokyo Drift Fast and Furious music in there. They play the lo-fi techno.
Oh, PF Chang's not in the show. Yeah,
no.
Okay.
So we said the dream of Bruce Lee is here. This show was awesome. It takes us back to 1900. And someone said, no, this show takes us back to 1990 because only people with tastes that are stuck in the 90s would like something this campy. Honestly, I agree. I don't agree fully to the 100 out of 100 extent, but this show is just not for me, man.
Okay.
It's got so much madams and brothels,
and
everybody's smoking opium because, that I'm not saying these things weren't real. I don't know. It's just not for me. It does not appeal to me. It does not tickle my fancy,
We'll talk about it. Let's go to the comment section.
All right, somebody said it's a good, well-made, authentic-looking set-based show, and it's interesting, but it's just got over-the-top gratuitous sex, violence, and drugs. It just seems to be thrown in for the thrills, and it adds nothing to the story or the story development. But I have to admit, the show was well-made, but it just doesn't work for me. Other people said, yeah, they attempted to seduce the viewers with a rock, rap music, dialogue better suited for 2023 MTV. They've got people with it's just weird, man.
All right, man, let's get into, without just saying, oh, it's weird, it's campy, it's cheesy, it's try hard, let's get into the reasons why you personally do not watch the show.
All right, for me, it feels steampunk, and I do not like steampunk aesthetics, because steampunk aesthetics are usually mixing something with turn of the century,
right?
1880 to 1920,
well, you're saying
but technoizing
You're
it.
saying kind of like the attitude and how they talk is very modern, but it takes place in the 1900s. It's not that everybody has transformed into these different characters.
You were saying earlier it's not cheesy, but here's Blade, okay? Blade is cheesy, but in a good way, right? John Wick is just dope, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's near the middle, but it's more toward Blade.
Okay.
That's my opinion, man. Another reason I don't really like is I don't really just watch any shows in general. So, I got to be super picky with my shows, right? I do not like post-Civil War period stuff. Do you like that period?
Yeah, I don't love Civil War stuff.
Okay.
I think the set, it is pretty grungy, pretty dirty. I'm not Gangs of New York was a good movie, but I wouldn't watch it again.
I think Andrew Koji is a good actor. I think when you put him in the right spots, he did really good in Bullet Train, really good. I do not like him as a Sam.
You don't like him as a Cantonese
It's hard to believe a half white, half Japanese guy is the Toy-san Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really, really hard for me to believe, to be honest.
It was he could definitely do the moves, and I think I
He's
respect
a good
him as
martial
an
artist.
actor and as a martial artist, but it's to depict a Cantonese martial arts prodigy that's straight from China. I didn't get that vibe. When I didn't know that was the exact story and I first saw the trailer, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Is he somebody from the other part of the world that came to San Francisco? But then it was yeah, he came straight off the boat from China. And I was like, so okay, I think he could have been more Chinese.
By the way, That's better than David Carradine, but it's definitely halfway there. It's not even as Asian as Bruce Lee. I think the reality of this time period, I don't really like revisionist history. I don't think it makes like Asian dudes or Chinese dudes feel super empowered to be like, oh yeah, everything was 50-50 back then. Because let's be honest, like in terms of 100 incidents, I think really realistically back then, if you talk to like a historian, Chinese probably took the L in about 96 to 97 out of 100 incidents back then.
Are you talking about in like the gang wars of like Irish or whites versus Chinese?
Yeah, or
at the
infrastructure versus the Chinese. Let's be honest, like they probably lost 96 out of 100 like incidents that popped up.
Yeah, there was some famous.
So I don't like to try to like revise it.
There were Chinatown massacres, yeah, that happened.
I think that this is really more for like 1980s, almost like man's Chinese theater types. You know, that's what I think. I think it's the modernized version of it. And yeah, I just think that there's shows that just play better in their time period, you know, whether we're talking about The Wire, Entourage, or even Sammo Hung's Martial Law, which I find more enjoyable than Warrior.
That show was entertaining. Now, David, let me ask you this. Aside from whether or not you would watch it, from what you can tell, and I think you only watched a couple episodes, right?
Right. And I watched a couple recaps in research for this.
Right, a lot of the highlight in the clips films. Do you think it is a great show for Asian American guys? Because I see a lot of posts on the internet and they're kind of like, Asian guys are like, yo, Asians are really badass in this show. Asian dudes are badass. Asian dudes are badass. They're getting with chicks. They're killing like, you know, bad white men. You know what I mean? Like we like to see that.
With things that are rare to see in a high budget production that is funded by Western companies.
You agree that those things are good, or you're like, it's just done so cheesy I can't watch it? Or you're like, I don't need it, so I'm not gonna watch it.
I think it's really well executed, and that's why they keep doing seasons. I think you should watch it. You should check it out and see if it resonates with you. I'm just listing out the reasons it does not resonate with me.
All right, everybody, let us know in the comments down below what you think about those reasons, what you think about the show, what you've seen of the show. Not everybody watches this show, so what we're saying is like the actual view numbers are not incredibly high, but because I think it's still well made, it probably fits on. You need a martial arts show on HBO Max. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
you need an edgy one.
It's based off
to make up for like the ones that are like super cheesy, right? With throwing, you know, mystical dragon dust or whatever. I don't know. There's a whole range of martial arts stuff.
I mean, I think some people look at Warrior in comparison to, you could even say, American-born Chinese right now, or other shows that do have martial arts in it, and they're like, okay, American-born Chinese, that's for the kids, and Warriors for the adults. These are for the guys who like to train Wing Chun and like used to, and also maybe and any non-Asians who might like orange chicken and, you know.
No, this is definitely, like I said, guys, I still go to Panda Express. Panda Express is incredibly 10 out of 10 well executed for that genre of food. I think that Warrior is probably near an 8, 9, or a 10 out of 10 execution for that genre of thing. But that genre just don't hit with me. I like Panda though.
You're saying this is the Philippe Chow of Chinese martial arts shows right now.
Philippe Chow.
This is the Philippe Chow. Look up Philippe Chow's food if you guys don't know it. We'll pop up some pictures. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We are the Hot Pot Boys. Again, leave it in the comments down below. Feel free to disagree. Have some debate. Let's talk about it.
Everything got pros and cons, guys. Especially media. It's just easier to talk about.
Until next time, we out.
Peace.